Laced up, dripped up, sauced up, damn girl, I wanna ride with you. Love me or hate me, I make this shit interesting, boy. What's up, my dudes? Spencer, the MX Simulator God fanboy that cannot accept any other motocross game, and every other motocross game in his eyes just doesn't match up to MX Simulator because he's just such a fanboy of MX Simulator. Okay, so this has been by far the biggest sort of defense that people have whenever they try to say that I don't understand any of these other motocross games, like whether I have a certain opinion on MX bikes or a certain opinion on the official Supercross game or whatever it is. Ever since I've done what I've done on MX Simulator and gotten as far as I have in that game, people automatically jump to the defense of, well, you're just an MX Simulator fanboy, so you don't understand, right? You're just clouded in the mist of MX Simulator world and you can't accept anything else. So here I am in this video going to explain why that's not actually true. That's just something, it's just a little something people can push in their comment that makes it sound like I don't know what I'm talking about a different game, right? But let's just get this straight right here. What it really is, what it all really comes down to when it's me against these other, defenders of these other motocross games, all it really is they think that they've finally got one up on the Spency boy, right? They finally, are better at a different motocross game that Spencer is not as good at, right? They finally know a different motocross game that, Spencer doesn't know as much about, right? And this whole time that I've been playing MX Simulator, I was hauling ass out the gate, right? Like I played that game every single day. Basically, ever since I started uploading content on MX Simulator, I was pretty much pro level speed. I was scooting in the game. So nobody even really had the opportunity to say, oh, well, you're not as fast on MX Simulator, so you don't understand it, right? They couldn't ever really say that, right? But these other motocross games that I don't really play super seriously at all, like MX Bikes, the Official Monster Energy Supercross game, MX vs. ATV All Out, all these other games that I barely even play, but I make content on it, right? People want to jump on that opportunity to be like, oh, finally, I'm better at a dirt bike game than the almighty Spencer Turley, right? Oh, I'm better. Oh, I understand a dirt bike simulator. Finally, I finally understand it more than Spencer does, right? People are just, it's like they're thirsting, they're frothing at the mouth to get that opportunity to say that they're faster than me at a certain dirt bike game, right? That's all it really is. That's all it really comes down to at the end of the day. They want to act like they're faster than me at a dirt bike game and they know more than me in a dirt bike game because they couldn't do that. They couldn't say those things about MX Simulator, right? They just couldn't do it. But anyways, let's get to the point of the video, okay? It's all in what is your definition of a fanboy, right? That's really what this all comes down to. My definition of it is somebody that cannot see any of the negatives of a game, and they're always the first one to jump to defend the game when anybody even remotely says something that could even possibly be perceived in a negative way. That's the definition. That's kind of what I go by when I think of a fanboy of a game. Okay, so all you guys that are calling me a fanboy of MX Simulator, have you seen any of my rant videos on MX Simulator? Have you seen any of them? Have you not seen the countless amounts of time I have just taken an absolute monstrous shit on the chest of the pro racing organization of MX Simulator? I can't even count how many times I've just ripped them apart. Every aspect of it, right? Everything they're doing with the track designs, the terrain deformation, the not banning the cheaters, all this stuff. And I've also voiced my opinion on how bad I think the terrain deformation, the erode system is on MX Simulator. I've voiced that multiple times before. I've made countless and countless rant videos on how terrible that is in MX Simulator because there's no cushion to the dirt. It's a 2007 game engine, right? It can't even handle a terrain deformation system. That's why they've had all the bugs and all the issues with the game since they started doing that. It's not like I'm just over here, can't say anything negative about MX Simulator. You guys like to try to play it off like that, but that's actually never been the truth. Yeah, MX Simulator's graphics are pretty trashy. I mean, when you compare it to modern day games, yeah, it is. And I've never been somebody that can't accept that. I mean, I've always been honest about that. But again, you have to remember, MX Simulator was made back in 2007 by one guy. So can you really hate on the graphics too much at this day and age? Not really. You just really can't. And the other part of that is people act as if all I've ever done is said positive things about MX Simulator and negative things about MX bikes, right? Or it's, I can never say anything negative about MX Simulator, and I'm only saying negative things about MX bikes. That's this whole twisted world that we live in, right? Where people can just label me as an MX Simulator fanboy automatically because that's where I came from. That's how I started my YouTube channel. I became, pro level at MX Simulator, done everything that I did in that game. So that's the easiest reach. People can reach in their bag of let's try to discredit this guy's opinion on MX bikes, right? That's the first thing they seem to grab out of that bag is, oh, he's just an MX Simulator fanboy, right? He just can't understand it, right? And it's hilarious to me because I've said so many different things about MX bikes that I think is better than MX Simulator, right? But if I ever go in there and say anything that's even remotely could be perceived in a negative way, like I think MX Bikes is easier or more arcadey than MX Simulator, even though I'm not saying that in a negative way, people perceive it in that way. So they think I'm trying to say MX Bikes is just, it's terrible, MX Simulator is a far superior game and all this kind of stuff. They get all them ideas in their head. I've seen the comments, right? And it's just funny because it's like, man, have you not seen all the things that I've said that are more positive about MX bikes than MX Simulator? I've went in there and said the terrain deformation of MX bikes is better than MX Simulator. I've went in there and said the graphics of MX bikes is better than MX Simulator. I've went in there and said the tear-off system and all these other, hyper-realistic features of MX bikes is a cool thing that MX Simulator doesn't have. These are all things that I've said are better about MX bikes than MX Simulator, but yet people still want to call me an MX Simulator fanboy, and I can't understand any of the positives of MX bikes. I'm just hating on MX bikes, man, right? You boys really need to wake up because it's sad. It's sad to see it. It's just beyond sad to see it. If I'm not in here just absolutely gloating about MX bikes and saying it's the greatest thing ever, then people are going to automatically label me as an MX Simulator fanboy, and I can't understand MX bikes. And I just think MX bikes is terrible. I mean, I've seen a couple of comments where people are saying shit like, I've just lost all respect for you, Spencer. Oh my God, man. It's like, bruh. I go in there and say one thing about MX bikes. It's easier and more arcadey than MX Simulator. My own opinion, that's all I was ever getting at in any of those videos. But then people want to say they've lost respect for me. Oh my God. Oh man, if that makes you lose respect for me, then I don't even know what else to tell you, big dog. I don't even know. But it's just hilarious at this point how people continue to think that I'm just biased and I can't accept, anything other than MX Simulator. No, what it actually is it's the truth. I know that's hard to accept for some of you guys, but it's the actual truth. I'm not saying it has to be, the way you think about it, but it's the way I think about it. It's my opinion and it's my truth between both of the games. There is no bias. There is no, I can't accept anything different. If I truly felt that MX Bikes was a superior physics system, physical, okay? We're not talking about graphics. We're not talking about camera options. We're not talking about, oh, MX Bikes is on Steam. We're not talking about all these other, positive things about MX Bikes. If you just look at just the physical nature and the difficulty of the games, if I truly believed that MX Bikes was more difficult, more skill-gapped, more of a physical feeling when you go over whoops or roughness or shit like that, if I truly felt that, if I truly felt that MX Bikes was more than MX Simulator in that sense, I would come out here and say it. Trust me, dog. I don't have a problem with shitting on MX Simulator. I've done it countless times before. I mean, oh my God. It's just hilarious how people can even think that way with how many rants I've made on MX Simulator. It's like, bro, come on now. You real fans, you know it's not true. You know I'm not just some bias towards MX Simulator and I can't accept anything. You know that. But, these other boys they can't accept it. And they have to reach out there really far to try to find some excuse, some reason why Spencer just doesn't understand MX Bikes and he just can't figure it out, right? They're just reaching and trying so hard. At this point, I'm not surprised by anything. I mean, certain individuals, they will defend something to the bitter end. They'll defend it. It's unbelievable. And that's when I say things like these MX Bikes fanboys, that's what I mean. Because anytime I even go in there and say anything about MX Bikes, it doesn't even have to be a negative thing. Like, when I say it's easier or more arcadey than MX Simulator, how is that a negative thing? How? Now, if I was just going in there and saying stuff like, oh my God, the physics are just terrible on MX Bikes and it's just a trash game, oh my God, there's all these trash mechanics and the tracks are terrible and, what's the developer doing? Oh my God, this is just a horrible game. That's actual hating on MX Bikes. That's actual, destroying MX Bikes. Me going in there and saying it's easier and more arcadey than MX Simulator, that's not hating on MX Bikes. Do you see the difference? That's what I mean by you can't even say something could even be perceived in a negative way, and these MX Bikes fanboys will be on your case about it, right? You can't even, you can't even attempt to say something that's could be perceived in a negative way, and boom, the MX Bikes fanboys are on your ass in a heartbeat, right? That's what I'm talking about. If people want to go in there and talk negatively about MX Simulator, I'm not on their case about it. I'm not in there trying to be, oh, no, MX Simulator is actually better. No, it's not like you're saying it is. I just don't do that. Like, I don't feel the need to have to come in there and defend every little thing about MX Simulator. I don't. I don't feel that need. And I've said multiple negative things about MX Simulator. It's not a perfect game. When it comes to the feeling of the bike, the actual physical feeling of it, in relation to the whoops and the tracks and everything in the game, that's where I do feel like MX Simulator is perfect. But everything else, yeah, I don't believe it's perfect. I believe there's a plethora of different things that could be better about MX Simulator. But the thing you always got to remember about MX Sim is that it came out in 2007. It came out a decade before MX Bikes. So any kind of comparison you try to make, you really can't be as harsh on MX Simulator because for its time, it was mountains. It was levels above what anybody could have dreamed of. But now that we've entered into this new age where you've got MX Bikes with a modern graphical engine, better terrain deformation, all this other stuff, people tend to rush to the idea of shitting on MX Simulator, but they don't take anything into account that it was made 10 years before MX Bikes. I mean, that makes all the difference in the world, man. Like, oh my God. But anyways, I just want to remind some people, yes, I'm very well capable of saying negative things about MX Simulator. I've done it a plethora of times before. No, it's not like I just can't accept MX bikes, or I'm always trashing on MX bikes because I feel like all I can ever love is MX Simulator. If you boys genuinely believe that deep down, you're believing a facade. You're believing a false thing that you've manufactured it up in the back of your mind with all that reaching you've been doing. You've manufactured all that up when in reality, that's not actually the truth and it never has been. If I was truly an MX Simulator quote-unquote fanboy, I would have never said anything negative about MX Simulator, and I would have never said anything positive about MX bikes. Period.